Oh my God. What is up, Mets fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Mets'd podcast. I mean, listen, this is by no means a negative episode. By any means, Mets win the series against the Marlins. Should have swept. We know this team stinks. Really puts a sour taste in my mouth. I hate losing the last game of the series. I absolutely hate it. And the fashion that the Mets lost the last game of the series really stinks because I think the beginning of the series was great. I think these were great team wins. I think they played good baseball. They were all positive to take from there. Losing the way they lose in Game 3 stinks. We're not going to let it sully the episode. We're not going to let it ruin what happens here, but we're definitely going to talk about it because that's a frustrating loss. And there's things that need to be said. Listen, we're not going to be Mets fans in any shape or form where we're overtly positive, overtly negative. You come for Mets Stuff Podcast because you like medium takes. You like James sitting on the fence. You like me overreacting just enough to the point where I give you a little juice, but still at the end of the day, we give you informed takes. So that's what we're going to do. Thank you guys so much for listening and watching. Make sure you are subscribed to the Mets'd Podcast YouTube channel. Shout out all our members who are getting these episodes, including this one early. You're going to want to join. If you got $2.99 a month and you want to get these episodes early, become a member of the YouTube channel. You will get them early before they release the next day at 7 a.m. because that's when we drop these episodes on YouTube. If you're listening to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, drop us a rating, drop us a review, download and subscribe, and follow us on all our social media at Mets'd on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. James, I was out there for Game 3.
Yeah.
You were at home. What was it like to watch it at home? Because at the stadium, I will say, it was dead. It was a weird atmosphere because I was sitting in the Cadillac Club in right field, which I'll talk about a little bit more. But it was a weird game from start to finish.
Humble brag. It was so weird I sat in the Cadillac Club. But I texted you in the middle of the game because I was like, it's dead silent on television. It's like, is it dead silent in the stadium? And you were just like, yep. And it just kind of felt like, I'm not saying that, I'm not insinuating that this was the case for any player on the field or any member of the organization, but it felt like a hangover game. Like, it just felt it was cold for the second day in a row. It was a day game after a day game, which is strange this time of year. And also, like, the game like this, like you said, you were pissed to lose the last game of the series, kind of pissed to lose any game to the Marlins. Like, this game, I tip my hat to the Marlins because this game they played better than us. Like, there was nothing that the Mets did better.
Totally.
There's nothing the Mets did better than the Marlins on Wednesday afternoon. So I'm not exactly upset to lose the game. I'm more just upset with like the execution of the team. But I'm not. Again, it was just like a slog. It was a horrible game to watch. Like, we didn't get a hit till the sixth inning, and then Francisco Lindor was immediately erased on a double play by Juan Soto. So there was never even a moment of like hope, or I don't even know. Like, I don't think anyone got to scoring position the entire game. Truthfully, like, there was not even a chance to score a run ever for a second in this game. That's kind of how it felt. That's how it was.
No, I totally agree with you. The Marlins played better, and that's what bothers me the most is that
they played better.
Is that they played better. Because, again, you look at this team top to bottom, and I say this because, again, we're not going to face them until they're legitimately a double-A team, which is going to be at the second half of the season.
September.
They're fucking terrible. They're a horrible baseball team. And I'll say this, too. Clayton McCullough, I don't know what he's doing on the managerial side either at times. It's been, like, questionable. And maybe it's because he knows this team is not very good, and they have to try and squeeze out every single thing they possibly can. Like, they've brought the infield in at crazy situations. They had Pete, like, double play balls. They were like, let's bring the infield in and try to cut the runoff at the plate. And maybe that's him knowing his team better than we even know it and just not having faith that they're going to be able to stop runs and be able to score runs, whatever it's going to be. But, like, top to bottom, this team stinks top to bottom right now.
No one said this team didn't stink. I mean, I think the one thing, talk about Clayton McCullough and managerial decisions, was the decision just bouncing around a little bit to intentionally walk Juan Soto, the face Pete Alonso, load the bases on Tuesday afternoon. And then with doing that, loading the bases, putting Pete Alonso on first base, then bringing the infield in with one out rather than sitting back in double play.
That sense.
Didn't matter because Pete Alonso had missed off the line. But Gary talked about that during the game. That basically that after the game, the post-game press conference, McCullough said that their set of analytics, their projections in the exact moment said that if they're getting a ground ball, they like the chance of coming home rather than the double play. The double play was less certain. Then apparently they asked Mendoza, same thing. What would you do? He was like, I wouldn't bring the infield in.
Yeah, of course not. It's a great and I know Xavier Edwards. I'm going to give him his flowers because he had a nice series. He owns the Mets in terms of hitting singles and getting on base.
I mean,
I know he is. Yeah, statistically, he is one of the worst defensive shortstops in baseball. But if your numbers are telling you that with Pete Alonso up at the plate, you feel more likely to get an out at home than you do turning a double play. It's very confusing to me, especially because Pete, when he does hit ground balls, he smokes them. So, you'd want to give yourself a little room. And if you do field it, he's hitting it hard, you're turning too.
They also seem like a team right now where they've kind of stripped the cupboard so barren that this is kind of like let's throw shit against the wall season. Probably in terms of players, but also in terms of models, projection, strategy, all kind of analytics things. I think that
Probably
when we
the extremes on both sides they want to
Yeah,
be.
like when we're talking about Clayton McCullers, we're probably just talking about more so the large, vast organizational structure and mentality right now about these decisions. 'Cause I don't think that Clayton McCullers is. I don't think it's like an old school manager, Clayton McCullers, who gets to make every
No.
decision based on the way he feels. I think there's a lot of things for this team are coming top down. And again, like they just outplayed us. They started on Wednesday with Max Meyer. He threw a great game. Slider command was impeccable. He's done this cool thing this year where he kind of separated out his sliders. He has a tight slider and a sweeper. And that tight slider he was just manipulating it in the outside to the lefties. It was nice.
Question to you. So coming out of college, he was a fastball cutter changeup guy. So has he scrapped the cutter, or is now the cutter more of that tight slider and then he has the slower one be the sweeper? Because he was a big cutter guy coming out of Minnesota. Like that was kind of his calling card a little bit, was the cutter changeup.
No, it's definitely not a cutter anymore. It's just, I mean, that
Okay.
tight slider can be cutterish for sure because it
And
doesn't have
to
like
be
it doesn't
fair,
really drop at all. It just has a little bit of horizontal movement.
I was gonna say also coming out of college too, like the pitch classification is definitely more generalized rather
sure.
than what it truly is.
The pitch that he's throwing, especially if you have a bigger slider like he has, that could be considered the cutters, no doubt, because it's
Okay.
more of like a bridge between like fastball, tight slider, sweeper. But he didn't even throw that many sweepers in this game. It was really just that tight slider because, again, he was just manipulating it so well. It was just below the zone most of the time. It picked off the backside, backdoor against the lefties here and there. Like, it was just every single time he threw it, it was just a perfect ideal pitch. He had the sinker going against the righties. Like, he just threw a really good game. And again, it's a tip the cap. Like,
Yes.
there's nothing
He
else
pitched a good
really
game.
there's nothing else really to say about this game, which is kind of probably frustrating for you guys listening. I mean, there are a couple other things to say about this game. This was definitely a Tyler McGill bad game. The 8 balls to start the game were a super bad sign. Shout out Jeremy Hefner going out there and being like, "Hey, strikes." He was like, "Oh,
What do you think
strikes.
he said? You think he just said, brother, like this is the kind of how on Tuesday when we were at the game and Clay Holmes at one point had basically even balls and strikes through 2 innings, and I stood up and yelled viscerally. I was like, they're minor league hitters, throw strikes, like please.
And then from the rest of that game, I think it was like 55 strikes and like 10 balls from Clay Holmes after he super settled in there. But I don't know if you could see this on at the game, especially where you're sitting in the outfield. But after that mound visit, Hayden Sanger before was kind of setting up on edges, on corners, high and low, like a catcher does. But then afterwards, he went more to the universal basic target, where he was just sitting dead center. And that kind of, I feel like that helped McGill a lot the rest of the way.
I think with McGill in the past too, if I remember just like watching games on TV, I do think that the catcher generally does set up middle of the plate and lets McGill kind of pick around, which makes sense for a guy who it's never been a stuff issue for McGill. It's always been a command issue. And for someone who still doesn't have that command at that spot yet where he can really just pick off the corners and pick off the edges, it is more incidental when he does that rather than it seems like he's locked in and that's his exact plan.
Totally. And as bad as it was for McGill throwing like 50 pitches in 2 innings and 90 pitches in 4+, like he settled it against the Marlins. But freezing cold game. He settled it decently like that third and fourth. The problem was he kept getting the first 2 guys out and giving up a 2-out single or a 2-out walk. And then he had to throw more pitches he didn't have to throw. And then that 5th inning, if Brett Beatty makes a clean throw in that ground ball, he probably gets through that inning as well. And we're probably looking at a 5-inning, 8 strikeout game from Tyler McGill with 98 pitches. And it's just kind of like, it probably feels a lot different, but like McGill forced 16 swings and misses. Like the fastball was electric. Again, like on TV, the thing was just buzzing left and right. Whenever it was in the strike zone, the Marlins were swinging through it. It was the fact that now, again, before we talk about Beatty, just finish the McGill spiel.
Yeah.
The fact that this could be a bad game for McGill now
is awesome.
It's cool. The fact that his bad game could be like a loss where he doesn't even give up an earned run. I know it's also against the Marlins. Also nice that the bad game comes against the Marlins. And the Marlins this series just stacked that lineup with lefties against these righties. Like they really were like, yeah, try and get it. McGill was 75% fastball against the lefties in the lineup in this game. And he was just like, hit it. I dare you. Even when he didn't have command of it, those first 8 pitches, all 8 being balls, he was like, I'm going to keep throwing it. I don't really care. So good. Cool to see McGill get over a bit of a mental hump. Not a very good start at all. Basically a 2-whip, but like nice to see this. If this is the bad McGill start, we've come a long way.
And also, totally not his fault why we lost. Again, the offense did not show up. I want to make that very clear. Messed Up Podcast, not blaming Tyler or McGill for the loss on this one. Also, in the Cadillac Club, it's pretty cool how when you like walk in, you're kind of, me and you have been back there. It's over by the bullpen, like in the bowels of the stadium. We're walking, me and Wardy, shout out Wardy. You guys know him, Mets content creator as well. You should go subscribe to his YouTube channel. He got the tickets. So we were walking to go up to the concourse area. And to go there, Tyler McGill walked right by us. We're like, hey, Tyler, what's up, man? And he was very confused. He was almost like, fuck, he's talking to me. Like, what's going on?
Yeah,
like, we definitely confused him a little bit.
FT fam, you gotta check out what Harry's brings to the table. And I hope that if you're listening to this, you check out the video version of this conversation at some point, because that razor, Eric Kratz, looks like it stands out for multiple reasons.
I mean, I'll take the cover off. All these blades, each one of them ridiculously sharp, meant for a nice smoothness here and up there.
German engineered blades made in their own factory. They stay sharp longer. Okay. You've got customizable delivery options. Harry stands out for the sharpness, for the pricing, for the variety. And you can get a 5-blade razor, a weighted handle, foaming shave gel, and a travel cover for just $3 at harrys.com/Val. Get the edge on your shave with Harry's. Normally their trial set's $13 right now. You can get it for just $3 at harrys.com/Val. That's our exclusive FT link, harrys.com/Val, for a $3 trial set.
Like, at the end of the day, the team needs a hit. Now let's talk about Brett Beatty. I really, it pains me so much because, again, such a pro Brett Beatty podcast. Pro Brett Beatty. But I don't think he gets on the plane to Sacramento. And I don't think the Mets, is this a crazy statement? If you're serious about putting the best team on the field right now, I do not think Brett Beatty is a part of that roster.
I think the second part of your take is true. I do think he gets on the plane. I think they give him this road trip because it lines up really well with Jeff McNeil coming back, starting a rehab assignment this weekend. So that's just it. Like, you're gonna call up Donovan Walton. I mean, I guess
Fair,
it might give you slightly better chance to win, but in terms of like the other options, like that's kind of where we're at. But it's just that error was bad. He knew it was bad. I think
it was really bad.
As bad as Beatty gets, he always, again, like, I just even a silver lining, but just like the bare minimum, I guess. He always says the right things to the media. He's just like, I'm not, and he's really good. He's identifying his problem. He said, like, I'm stuck in the middle. I'm stuck in between of being indecisive. He's like, I need to get my finger on the trigger. I need to know what I'm doing here because, like, I have to be better at offense and defense, and that's true. And then when he got called out on strikes, the at bat after the error on a 3-2 pitch,
Wasn't fair.
His second 3-ball count of the year, so we shout him out for that one. But the fact that it was like 2 inches off the plate and the ump still rang him up, that was a big-time Little League call where, like, you're playing like shit and then the umpire knows you're playing like shit and you're really dying to just get that walk, just get the monkey off your back, and the ump's like, not giving you that walk. See you later. That was like a major, like, 5th grade James move, and a call that would go against me all the time. But that's just, there's no, it's like, I've never, like, felt like bad for an athlete like this, but it's just like some reason he gets into these spots, he gets into these games, and every single thing is completely out the window. And it's like he's never played baseball before.
I know last episode I officially announced I'm out on Brett Beatty, which is, again, pains me. I was officially out, and I was hoping it'd really spark something, and maybe a little Mark Luino jinx there. But I don't know how many more games he ever plays for the New York Mets. I just don't think it can work here. It seems like, I mean, we've joked about it off the podcast. He's going to make a great Minnesota Twin in his late 20s at some point. He's going to be fantastic there. But I'm at the point right now where this team is a winning baseball team. We know it. It's a good baseball team. Oh, yeah. They need to have players that are going to make this team better. And when me and you have an OPS closer to Brett Beatty than Brett Beatty does to Hayden Sanger, that's a major problem, considering Hayden Sanger is around baseball was considered to not be a Major League Baseball hitter. That's a problem.
Yeah, and I think actually we've barely pulled out of that because it's 259 on Beatty and 541 on Sanger now. Actually, quick math, yeah, no, nailed it. Still
it's right really there. Close.
It's really close. Like, us and Brett Beatty are not that much different from Beatty and Sanger. And also, like, another not good Vientos game. He did draw a walk. The at-bat's been a little bit better, but there's no muscle behind the swings. Tyrone Taylor continues to not come close to hitting the baseball. Like, it's a bad game. Solo, this was the first game as a Met where he did not get on base. Kind of annoying. I mean, not annoying, but like kind of funny that this is the first game we don't score. It's also the first game of the season he doesn't get on base. So cool. I'm sorry that we're being a little too negative because it should be a positive episode. It was a 5-1 homestand. Like, we're going to get positive in like 90 seconds.
Yeah.
I don't know how well you could see in the stadium, but that was a bad Edwin Diaz outing. One of the worst Edwin Diaz outings we've seen in a long time, where it was just, some of those sliders were missing badly. Like, he was still executing relatively where, like, the fastballs were high and the sliders were low, but some of the sliders were low. A couple of them hung in the middle, and then he threw a 94 and a 93 mile an hour fastball, which I'm like, I don't want to see that. It just happened once, and it was really cold, and it wasn't a safe situation, so I'm fully ignoring it. But if it happens again,
yes,
then we're going to have a deeper conversation about it. That's where I want to leave it.
Yeah, I'm going to sully that by saying that, again, the atmosphere was so mega dead. And even like the trumpets coming out, I was like, what are we doing? I was like, what are we doing here? They're down 2-0. The Mets they have one hit today. Like, it was,
they had two.
I understand they had 2 hits. Like, I understand. I was like, that's kind of his thing. But like in my head, I was like, can we just end this game? Like, I mean, what are we doing here? We're getting excited about Edwin Diaz coming in.
I mean, it would have been nice. It would have been nice to get to the bottom of the 9th down 2 against Calvin Fauché, who we've been tattooing this entire season. Like, I was excited for that. If we could have had a clean inning with Lindor leading up, like, okay, we can actually make some noise here, get a miracle win to end this homestand nice, but didn't happen. Shout out Max Cranick for keeping the game where it was when he got in there with McGill.
Yes.
I know he did give up the seeing eye, the bloop single that allowed the second unearned run to score of that inning, but again, to get out of that the way he did. This year, he's gotten 27 outs on 91 pitches, which is remarkable.
It's amazing. That's crazy.
Yeah, he has not given up a run to his ledger yet. Like the fact that him and Budo have been able to have these multiple inning outings as efficiently as they have has saved this rotation early on in a tremendous way.
So David Stern's magnum opus is like Max Cranick. This guy stunk on the Pirates. We saw him. We went through work through the injuries, work through AAA, put him on the playoff roster. He never pitches. And then all of a sudden, 2025, he's up on the major league roster. You're like, oh, shit, this guy's awesome. Like, where did they find this guy? We know, but like, how? How did they find this guy? How did nobody else see this?
I don't know if there's nobody else seeing this. I think it was kind of a situation where, like, I probably had to get surgery. He's like, I'd like to play for the Mets. Everyone's probably, I think what happens with these free agents a lot, we just saw with Pete Alonso, is that these Major League Baseball teams do groupthink, where everyone has very similar projections and models. Everyone's offering these guys contracts in the exact same range. So these guys just pick what team they want to go to. So if everyone offers Max Cranick the same deal, he could play for the team he grew up rooting for as close to where his family lives. I'd like to go do that too. Like, that makes sense. But all right, no more negativity. Flush the toilet with
no more negativity. Done.
Because it was still a good series. Tremendously good series. First 2 games, Mets played clean, great team baseball, winning baseball. And again, it was a 5-1 homestand, so we can't be upset about it. If the Mets lose on Saturday to the Blue Jays and they win this game against the Marlins, we feel significantly better. It's kind of like you kind of have to find those little bits and pieces in the season. It's 162 of these, but like game 1 and 2, just awesome. Just nice, good wins where there wasn't. I don't know if I'm going out on the limb here saying that there was never any moments of tremendous fear for me, but I just felt like we got up early in both those games, and the whole time I was like, we're going to win.
I think with game 1, there was just a lack of offense, but the Mets pitching was so dominant where I was like, they're not scoring any runs. Like they're not doing anything against us. Game 2, the only time of like, or the 2 times of like, oh my God, what's going on, was Clay Holmes' beginning of the game when he gave up those 2 runs, which were doinky, classic Clay Holmes, ex-Woba, getting fucked. Like ex-batting average king. He loves to give up like the worst hits in the world. And then you look at the box score, and that's why stupid idiot Yankee fans hated Clay Holmes, because they can't see what actually is going on. And they were just like, oh, he blew the 1 inning. This guy sucks. And it's like, well, they hit 2 balls 65 miles an hour and they scored 2 runs. How does that even happen? But the Huáscar Brazoban one. But even then I was like, the Mets are just tattooing the baseball. Like, like sometimes you hit a home run. That's what happens. Like Brazoban's been so great for this team too. And really, like, again, Monday was great team baseball. I think they played a clean baseball game start to finish. They got the big hits when they needed it. It was way too close for my liking, again, because the Marlins fucking stink. But that was clean baseball. That's what a good baseball team does against a terrible baseball team like the Marlins. Tuesday was like, oh, baby, look what can happen with this lineup when shit is cooking. And the thing that's crazy is, I just said when shit's cooking, it is still just 1, 2, 3, and sometimes a little bit of Nimmo at 4. Otherwise, we're getting no help from the bottom of the order still.
No, Nimmo was big in that game too. Don't sully what Brand Nimmo did in that game, because Tuesday was the best game yet from the big 4, being again Lindor, Soto, Alonso, Nimmo. Combined in that game from those 4 hitters, we had the home run from Lindor, we had 3 doubles, we had 8 RBIs, we had 6 runs scored, and we had 11 hard hit balls. Like, that was a game where those 4 guys took over the game and said, we're not losing this game to a bad team, especially a bad team's bullpen. We're better than you, and we're going to make you feel it. Also funny that both starting pitchers in the first 2 games this year, Kodai and Clay Holmes, both had bad first innings, and they kind of figured it out. Like, annoying
and Tylor.
And Tylor, yeah. But he didn't figure it out as much. But like weird first innings against the Marlins. But Kodai, scary to see him have another bad first inning against the Marlins, but then it was zeros the rest of the way. Like, still wasn't the cleanest performance from Kodai Senga, but definitely one to be really happy with. And like I mentioned before with Tylor. What
is that? Again, we know with Kodai, he's very particular, and that's almost a scenario he's probably never pitched in his life, where it's cold, wet, and outside in the month of April. That's like almost never happened for him in his career.
Yeah, it was definitely an unfortunate. The whole series was an unfortunate weather series. Again, shout out to Mets fans that were there, like troopers. Every single person went to every single one of these games, especially everyone in the crowd with us on Tuesday who were able to make do, adjust to the 4:00 start. Shout out to boy Sammy as well to hang out with us. But that was a fun game to be at. But Kodai did a lot of weird things in this game. The Marlins, like I said before with Ty Lawrence, stacked this lineup, same against Clay Holmes with left-handed batters because Kodai, Kodai's usually okay against them, but it's not, it's just a righty versus a lefty. It's always a tiny bit different of a wrinkle where Clay Holmes really has to prove he's good with them. But Kodai made a massive adjustment where this was the most ghost forks he's ever thrown in the strike zone that I've seen him start with the Mets. He had a 41% zone rate with that pitch, and he had a few more on the edges that just actually missed the strike zone. For the entire season in 2023, he only threw the ghost fork in the strike zone 22% of the time. So nearly twice as often he was throwing the ghost forks in the strike zone this game. Picked off a couple called strikes with them, got a couple strikes looking like you just said. And then that ghost fork, because I don't think he really had the best fastball command and his cutter's kind of been hit or miss so far this season, that pitch became like his primary pitch. He threw it most often in the game for all of his pitches against left-handed batters, the fastball and the cutter coming after that. And also in this game, especially against the right-handed batters, because we're throwing against lefties, not many sweepers at all, which I thought was interesting for Kodai because he keeps trying to make that pitch happen, but he really has not been able to do it consistently at the major league level. So interesting that in this game, as lineup was stacked with lefties, he was throwing ghost forks. And another crazy caveat, the few right-handed hitters in the lineup, he never fell behind one the entire game. Every single one got strike one first, and none of them ever saw a 2-0, a 3-0, or 3-1 count, and they saw one individual 2-1 pitch.
Yeah, like while the first inning has definitely been rough for Kodai, we're starting to see like why we were so excited about this guy a couple years ago, why he's the ace of this staff. Like when he's cooking, you're like, oh shit, like this is a very difficult pitcher to hit off. When that ghost fork, when he's able to place it like he was, when he's able to have the command, when he's able to be confident like he was on the mound with that ghost fork, you start to realize you're like, how do you even hit that pitch knowing that it could be a fastball? It drops off the table so hard. It's a filthy pitch. And being able, it's very funny because you mentioned how he didn't throw that in the strike zone very much. And that's a pitch that truthfully, you don't want to, but it moves so much and it tunnels so well off that fastball that you can get away with it if you spot it correctly. If you start that in the middle of the zone and it drops to the bottom, that's still not a hittable pitch, even in the strike zone.
And it's cool to me that he was able to make that adjustment seemingly on the fly and be like, I cannot really be able to zone the rest of my pitches. And these are all lefties here. So the fact that you can kind of like surprise people, that's the one thing that Kodai is so good at. He's so cerebral. He's such a student of the game. I hate to use those cliches, but like he's able to kind of figure out and change his game plan, adjust things as he's going, seeing what's working, seeing what's not, and kind of get himself into position to just pitch well as much as he can. And again, like there's another game where the offense did kind of lull. It was nice to see Soto crush that double, almost got his first Citi Field home run. Lindor again was on base to start the game. Jose Budo clean innings. We got the chaos insurance run from Jose Siri, coming on as a pinch runner for a Vientos walk, stealing a base and scoring on seeing a single. Like that's just good baseball stuff.
Now, Jose Siri is by no means playing well either. I'm not going to pretend like he is. Like his OPS is pretty low, but is it time to give him a little more shine over Tyrone, especially because
I think he's been getting it.
Well, I mean, Tyrone played a lot of this series. I think he started every game, didn't he, technically?
I guess he did. The weekend, it was all series, though. So maybe that's kind of what they're doing instead of like single game platoons, like 2 or 3 game platoons.
And like, I like Tyrone. I think he's a great player. Again, I think he is definitely the fourth outfielder. I think that should be the way. And Siri is also kind of a fourth outfielder. You love both those guys as being the fourth option. But I think because of like Siri is a better center fielder, at least defensively. I think there's no doubt about it. At the plate, he's definitely more inconsistent. But I think because of how good he is defensively, and maybe that's because they played in Citi Field, whatever. I'm sure Carlos Mendoza has really good answers, and I do trust him. But I am interested to see moving forward if they start to get a little more Jose Siri heavy, because Tyrone just really hasn't looked particularly great.
This season so far, it's 6 starts each from each guy.
Really?
So it's 2 Taylor start the year, then 3 from Siri, 1 from Taylor, 3 from Siri, now 3 from Taylor again. So it does feel like it's kind of just like a pure hot hand approach. The Mets also have only faced one lefty, and it was the first game of the season, which I also think is kind of funny considering how the schedule has worked out. But I don't know. I think that Siri probably does more to help the team win, but also in the late game tight spot. Like I said, like Siri came to score that run after some chaos, but Tyrone Taylor did drive him in. Like we've talked about this a little bit off air, where this Mets team has such a patient lineup. A lot of guys who take pitches, work deep counts. It is kind of nice to have a guy like Tyrone Taylor, and I guess to a lesser degree, a guy like Jose Siri, who goes up there. Like this is more so Tyrone Taylor. It's like a contact guy. It's like I'm here to make contact. I'm not going to take my walk. Like if you're throwing me a pitch in the zone, I'm going to swing at it. And it's not the greatest approach in a vacuum for one player by himself, but it is nice going up and down the lineup to have players that are foils for other players. I like that. Yes. That's how the bottom of this lineup, in essence, when it should be working, how it could work. But right now, It's just simply not working at all.
Yeah. Now, and again, that was game 1. Let's talk about game 2 here as well, because game 2 was awesome. I think start to finish. Besides the Clay Holmes like rough first inning. Yeah, that was awesome. That was really cool to see how the offense top 4, like we mentioned, that was their game. Lindor, the leadoff home run was phenomenal. That was great. Juan Soto's
Crushed it.
line driving the ball over the place. Pete Alonso continues to take unbelievably good at bats and making extreme contact rates and barreling up the baseball at the best rate that he's ever done in a small sample size. Like, these are all things where you look at this Mets top four, especially because Nimmo played well that game too, and you're like, shit, like this is one of the best four in baseball right now. Like, this is why you think the Mets could be one of the best teams in the league. Not the best, but one of the best teams in the league is because of that top four and being able to get those guys to the plate 4 times a game. You're like, how did they not score 7 runs every single game?
Then Lindor home run was also a big vibe moment because after you give up 2 runs in the first inning to the Marlins, there's like some moans and groans. Like, it's not the best feelings in the world and with the fans, probably in the dugout either. So for him, the first at bat of the game to hit an upper deck home run, it's like, nice, cool. Yes. Everyone relax. Let's just take care of business and win. That's how it was. I also do think that sneakily there was a lot of Clay Holmes to build on in this game. Like you said, there was a point in the game where we were kind of making jokes, like me and Sammy, that like, what's going to win, balls or strikes? It was 16-17 between balls and strikes. We're like, oh, this is rough here. Then you kind of we looked up in the 5th inning. We're like, oh my gosh.
I think he threw 30 strikes and 9 balls after it was. Yeah. I think at one point it was 17 strikes, I think it was 40. 16 balls.
I believe it was 57. I'll check what his final ledger was right now because it was 16-17 in the middle of the 2nd inning. But then after that, it got up to where it was. But this was the most comfortable by far he's ever been with his changeup either. Like, that was his primary pitch against the left-handed batters. I think it wound up being his primary pitch in the entire game. When you opened your big fat mouth in the middle of the game, be like, he's not throwing the changeup. I was like, dude, he's throwing changeups all the time. Like, and you're like, oh, I'm just not watching. It's like, oh, so yeah, maybe shut the fuck up then. But it was it's the wrong game. Look at today's box score. It was just nice to see him work that changeup against a high lefty lineup. He was more confident with his fastball, especially in 2-strike counts. The fastball is definitely not a good pitch, especially as his velocity kind of trickles down as these games go on. But it is cool that he's able now to sneak it by guys. Confident enough with 2 strikes when he knows a guy's not expecting it, especially a left-handed batter, just kind of buzz it past them. They're like, oh, like if a 94-mile-an-hour fastball sneaks up on you, it feels like 100. You know what I mean? If you're not looking at it, if you're looking for the changeup, then that's how you get away with it. But he got multiple whiffs with 4 different pitches. The 10 strikeouts is awesome. That's got to be a really cool milestone for him too, getting back into the rotation. Just a ton of really good things that we're seeing from Clay Holmes. Getting better, building every single time out there.
Yeah, it's funny because Clay Holmes, the pitch he seems to be having the most trouble with is his sinker. He's not really locating it well at all. But my dad was texting me too during the game. He's like, the sweeper looks unhittable.
Crazy.
He was like, that thing's a wiffle ball. Like, I totally understand why this guy has that potential to be such a great starter because that sweeper's so good. If he can just locate that sinker, which again is a great pitch when it's in the strike zone, it is so hard to hit that pitch well. It's almost impossible. That's where you're like, oh shit. Spring training Clay Holmes. How do you hit this guy? Future ace watch. But like, he's had trouble locating that sinker, which has been the problem. The good thing was, again, that the Marlins stink. This was a great little warm-up for him as his 3rd start in Major League Baseball as a New York Met, and the offense showed up. These were all good things that, again, good baseball teams do. And I think at the end of the day, while we were upset about how the series ended, it leaves a weird taste in your mouth, losing 5-0 to the Marlins and honestly just getting outplayed. This is a good baseball team, and they do so many things every single day that make you go like, wow, this team is good. This feels different than Mets teams of the past.
Yeah, it's obvious it's a good baseball team. And you mentioned the home sweeper. That's the reason these teams just will not let right-handed batters in the lineup against him. Because if he can just work that sinker sweeper,
how do you hit it?
It's enough to get every single righty out in the league.
He made Jose Altuve look like a minor league baseball hitter with that sweeper. And then he came in with that sinker, and it was like Altuve was in a blender. He had no clue what to do.
Also, the final tally for Clay Holmes in this game was 56 strikes and 31 balls. So that means when he was 17-16, quick math off the top of the dome right now, that was 39 versus 39 versus 15. That's awesome.
Which is fantastic.
That's incredible. That's a great way to end the game. Also, there was a real chance in this game that if he got a little bit better luck, like he could have given up 0 runs. Like both of the runs in the first inning came off nubbers that came off the inside of the bat and just barely dropped in behind first and third base. And then it was an RBI and a ground ball in the 6th inning. We came out of the game, inherited the runner, and then the Huascar Brasban home run to Derek Hill. So like that's kind of, again, like I think there's a lot of people right now who are really sour on Clay Holmes. I think there's a great time to do a little like mental buy low on Clay Holmes. We're seeing the signs right now that this could be really fun when he starts to really get comfortable over the next few months. I think that's something I'm looking forward to.
I'm going to tell you this too. In your fantasy baseball leagues, him and Tyler McGill are the guys to buy low right now because they just are coming off of like.
You can't buy Tyler McGill low. His ERA is 0.63.
Wait, is his ERA that low?
He's given up like 1 run all year. These runs weren't earned
This
today.
is a product of being friends with you that I'm not looking at ERA early in the season.
Hell yeah.
So
Good stuff.
hand up, congratulations, you've done it.
Nice.
I didn't realize his ERA was that low. I honestly,
It's crazy.
I'll tell you this, I didn't give a fuck what his ERA was. I've watched him pitch and I'm like, this guy's done really well. Today, I feel like you could convince the idiots that he had a bad start and you could get him for nothing.
No, I mean he's been, especially if you go back to late August when he came back up. He's basically has a 2 ERA over about 50 innings sample. It's quite good.
It's that Phillies game. That's the day where it seems like things
That was the
clicked in his head
moment.
of like, oh shit, I belong here. I'm that guy.
He also had the Braves game before that. Where it was like he missed a lot of bats. It was like there was some traffic on the base, but you're like the stuff is right there, like just a little bit more of a twist. But also it was nice again as Brazoban gave up that home run. Game felt a little bit dicey, like the intentional walk of Juan Soto to face Pete Alonso, which I really hope that Pete did take that personally because that's ridiculous that happened. To intentionally walk someone to face Pete Alonso, who's been one of the hottest hitters in Major League Baseball so far this season, second most balls in plays hit harder than 100 miles an hour, only behind Shohei Ohtani so far. That's just a guy who hits the ball well. He ripped that double, 113, directly off the wall. It just kept going and going and going. Just he hit it so hard that it bounced back too fast. All 3 runs did still wind up scoring, but it was just like, damn, it was nice. And also, that big rally, we'll say it. Brett Beatty did start it with a little swing and bunt. He did.
Good. You don't give him a positive today.
That's saying he hustled. He got on base. We don't have that rally without him. I don't know how the game on Tuesday ends if Brett Beatty doesn't bust out of the box and get on first base.
Don't look at where he hit it. Don't look how hard he hit it. Don't worry about that. He got on base.
Stuff. Don't care. And otherwise, like Starling Marte, give him some credit where it's due. He's been hitting.
Hayden Sanger, elite bunter.
Did good too. A couple hits. Minter had a good outing. Derek Hill made one of the best catches I've ever seen in person in my life.
And then it got beat. It got beat in game 3 when Dane Myers laid out face first into the wall for a diving catch. He did the Willie Mays over the shoulder, face first into the wall. I mean, those are 2 of the best catches I've ever seen at Citi Field. And we've seen a bunch of great ones like that Nimmo catch against the Dodgers when DeGrom was on the mound against Justin Turner, which way to just rattle that off. That was one of the most meaningful catches at Citi Field.
Do you also remember the Springer catch?
Yeah,
2 years ago, 2023, and that's
similar
September
spot
series?
as Derek Hill. Similar
same
spot where
play.
he caught it right in the gap. I was like, man, we like those guys. I don't know what they are as Major League Baseball players, but they're definitely center fielders for sure.
And we had this conversation during the game too about like the over/under for how many players on this Marlins team right now, like the 26-man roster. I guess just cut out the pitchers of all the bats are still playing baseball in 5 years. I don't know. I can see Derek Hill being one of the guys that hangs on. Dave Myers maybe too, like enough athleticism. Definitely Xavier Edwards too. Past that, maybe Norby. We'll see how he does. But it's kind of those are kind of the questions you have when you play this Marlins team.
I could see one of those guys ending up on a competitive team towards the end of the year as a 4th outfielder for sure. Especially because like if you're the Marlins, and anybody says we'll give you anything for Dane Myers or Derek Hill, you just hang up the phone and you send the trade. However you send the paperwork in. Don't even negotiate. Just take it.
Similar to the Mets' Oscar Brazoban last season. They were like, you really? Okay, that'd be awesome. I'll take a minor leaguer. I'd be happy to do it.
Who did we give up? Did we ever find out who we gave up for Oscar Brazoban? We were trying to figure it out yesterday.
No, we didn't, but I like the mystery in it.
I'm looking it up. I'm gonna find out. Wow. Okay, we gave up Wilfredo Lara.
That was it. We said, oh man. Damn, we were close to that. Also, before we move on, do some media marvels and preview the Sacramento A's series. Rest in peace, Octavio Dotel. Horrible tragedy in Dominican Republic. Same Tony Blanco, former major leaguer. Horrible story.
Nelson Cruz's sister as well. Like what?
Really?
And everyone else. Yeah, Nelson Cruz's sister. Everyone obviously who was impacted by this. Like that's terrible. Truly a tragedy. It's awful. Hate to see that stuff.
Horrible, especially as a former Met Octavio Dotel. So pour one out for Octavio Dotel.
Yeah. And just a little bit of real quick as well. Just a little injury report update. Francisco Alvarez and Jeff McNeil are due to make rehab assignments, I believe, this weekend. I think they're getting very close.
Francisco Alvarez is starting his rehab assignment. He's playing with the St. Lucie Mets on Wednesday. So yesterday, when you guys were listening to this, Francisco Alvarez hitting second for St. Lucie. I believe catching.
One last thing I want to say. I want to give a shout out to Hayden Sanger. This is a guy who has been a lifetime minor leaguer. He's 28 years old. He finally got a shot this year. Whether or not he sticks with the Mets in the future, whether or not, I don't know how much more he plays with this team, whatever it is, Hayden Sanger's a major league catcher. Defensively, it's been a treat to watch this guy play. He's got incredible fundamentals behind the plate. He throws out runners left and right. And I got to say, his bats are way better than I ever expected. I was expecting Patrick Mazeika level at bats. He is way better than that guy has ever been for this team.
At worst, it seems like Sanger has put himself on the radar for being a major league catcher just moving forward. Like if someone does need an
Yes.
emergency catcher, like Hayden Sanger will get another call in his life, in his career. Like he's
The one thing
he's
that
blocked the
screws
ball
him is
really well.
he's
He's
got
framing well.
options. So like the Mets will send him down and be like, "Hey, you come up when we need you. Sorry, bud." Like,
But again, that's not the worst thing. He's on a 40-man roster. That's someone that you can start playing Major League Baseball whenever the catchers get injured all the time. You don't think that if Francisco Alvarez was healthy and Luis Torrens had this forearm contusion, he'd catch 10-day IL?
He'd be on
And
the
Sanger would get
IL.
10 days of Major League money. It'd be very easy. It was nice to see that he's out there. He's got league average bat speed, which is cool, and playing good defense. This is Caden Sanger. Shout out to you. You've helped this team a lot over these first couple of weeks. But
all right,
now we're going to the Media Marvels.
Media Marvel?
I finally remembered the one that we forgot. We were wrong. The Media Marvel that we forgot, the first one, I want to shout out the SNY Mets Twitter account. Because I know that everyone out here on Twitter is just going for their impressions, they're going for their engagements. Monday morning, you're sending off a tweet about the Mets just to do it before the game starts after a sweep. And they say the Mets' early season leader in B-WAR, Wasco Brazoban, 0.6.
Yeah, that was one of yours.
It's just that's just terrible. That's terrible content right there. B-WAR, F-WAR, all WAR, if you're using anything less than a half season sample, even a full season sample, it's so prone to error. A guy being a half a WAR difference is nothing. The fact that the leaders have half a WAR, that means that this stat is not usable yet. And I hate the fact that WAR has been a stat that's been cut and sliced by people on Twitter and making content to where it's something that can be used in small increments like this, because it's not a stat that should ever be used in that way. And then you should know that this stat is stupid right now. Now, I'm not saying the WAR stats are stupid. I'm saying in a 10-game sample it's stupid, because how can Wascar Brosbon be the most valuable player on the Mets team right now? How can you think about...
Not Pete Alonso.
How can you think about the way these games have gone this year and be like, who's been the most impactful Met compared to replacement level? Wascar Brosbon, middle relief. There's no fucking way.
Where would this team be without him?
I know that everyone's out there for the clicks and it's all an impression game. I understand that. And that's, you can send out that tweet with a little picture and people are going to be going crazy on that thing. Got almost 200,000 impressions, but it's bad stats. It's bad data. There's a reason we don't cite stats like that for this point in the season or for small samples, because it doesn't tell you anything. And that was my first media marvel I found this week.
Just a quick thing that happened in the media, but it's not a marvel. It's more of a like, whoa. Vlad Jr. getting a $325 million signing bonus is absolutely insane. He just became the highest paid athlete in any single season ever, I think.
It's not a one-season signing bonus.
Oh, it's not? It gets spread out?
No, yeah, the way they report that could be another media marvel, because everyone was going off that being like $325 million to his bank account. It's being spread out every single year. It's a signing bonus, but in terms of that's just a way for him to mitigate the taxes as a player.
I thought that
in
hit his bank right now.
No, but he is getting a big one up front. But he's getting a signing bonus at the beginning of every season, so he can get paid for where he lives in Florida rather than the way all athletes get paid, which is that you get taxed based on the city of every game check that you get, which is crazy. I cannot believe the accountants that do these players' books. I took a sports business class in college at Ohio State. Shout out Eddie George, professor of the class, Hall of Famer. Heisman Trophy winner, I believe. No. Yeah. Wait. National champion. No, not national champion either.
No, he's a Heisman Trophy winner because I remember
winner.
when there was Heisman, like in NCAA football with RG3 on the cover.
He's a Heisman winner. I got confused.
That a Heisman mode, and I used to, one of my first ever YouTube series on an old channel was I would take the Heisman players and I would just hold random, like on what team they'd land on. I got Eddie George on Texas Tech, won the Heisman again, won the national championship.
There you go. I'll always remember Eddie George because the first football game I ever went to, Giants-Titans, he had a monster game with the Meadowlands.
And, well, what's now the Heineken Club. We got to see if it's still there, if they still got the Eddie George picture
anymore. Yeah, Mike Piazza hit the home run 9/11, front row cheering him on in Shea Stadium's a guy in the Titans Eddie George jersey, which is just one of the funniest things in Citi Field if it's still there. But one day in that class, we had a professional sports accountant come to the class, and he showed us a tax return for a player he did with everything redacted. The stack of paper, guys, it was like this thick. If you guys watched on YouTube, it was like the length of my entire hand span. Like it was ridiculous. Like it was this big.
It's crazy.
And we were just like, because every single game check, these guys got to pay taxes. So a guy like Vlad Guerrero, similar to Shohei Ohtani, all these players in the Dodgers, Blake Snell with the Dodgers as well. You get the signing bonus, you pay the tax for your residency because you get at the beginning of the year, and then you get less money taxed as you go city to city, especially when your home games are in Canada every single year. So a lot of clever work there. Also with that contract, a clause that it still gets paid through any work stoppage. So that's a bad sign for us baseball fans out there. Not great. I don't like to see things like that being worked into contracts. But the main media moral from this episode comes from the Yes Network, shockingly. I want to scroll right now in our Twitter DMs to find the exact wording, the exact way it was said. You got it? Tell the people.
Yeah, sure. Shout out, friend of the podcast, Krista Castellani, big Tigers fan. baseball fan, avid baseball fan. This tweet got 2.6 million views, 31,000 likes, and it was of Francisco Lindor scoring on Juan Soto's double in the third inning against Valente Beloso. And SNY, again, me and you have talked about it all the time. Incredible broadcast, top to bottom.
The best.
Gary, Keith, and Ron, amazing. And the production quality, shout out John DeMarsico. They do an amazing job over there. They had a shot where Juan Soto hit the double, and they split screen with the ball being thrown in and Francisco Lindor rounding third base. And Chris Castellani said every broadcast should have this split screen when a runner is rounding third. And he's right. It's an unbelievable shot.
Awesome shot.
It's so good for watching and in taking in the game. It gives you context. You get to watch. It adds suspense. A guy by the name of King Felix tags SNY's lead, or not SNY, Yes Network's lead Yankee game producer, Troy Benjamin, and says, is this too difficult to do? Looks lit. Troy Benjamin replied, we don't do crap, which is crazy. Like, one, what the hell are you saying? Two, like, I think there's a difference between being prideful in your work and being arrogant. And this to me was arrogant and stupid. Yeah. No hubris here, because this is something that there's no excuse for any broadcast to not be able to do. You control all the cameras in the stadium at all times. And for him to think that Yes Network, which by the way puts on a fucking chip production, start to top with Michael Kay, who's silent for half the game. Why would you not want to make your production better? This isn't even like him saying, hey, you guys suck. SNY is better than you. It's like, can we do this? And he was like, we won't do this crap. What the hell is that all about?
It's frustrating because, like, first of all, SNY, no bias aside, they do such an incredible job.
Top to
it's
bottom,
amazing.
One of the best.
Their transitions, their cut screens, the graphics that they use, just Gary, Keith, and Ron on top of that all as well. Like the whimsy they're able to do with like all the Steve Gelb stuff during games. Like they do things that other broadcasts won't even dare do, and they don't even think about doing. They don't even try doing. Also, the fact that like, again, like the deeper production stuff, that it's been really nice to see John DeMarisco on Twitter be able to like to shed light on a lot of these things, show the cuts, show what's going on inside the truck, show the commands, the signals, all that stuff. Like that's amazing. Peek behind the curtain. And he said it like afterwards. He quote tweeted that tweet and was like, you guys are spending 3 hours with us a night, 162 times a year. Like, we're going to pay that back. Like, that's a huge time commitment you're giving to us and our network and our broadcast. Like, there's a lot of production value we want to go into this. So for the lead producer for Yes to be like, this is crap, we're not doing it, it's crazy.
Which is objectively wrong. It's objectively
also
wrong.
Just, like you said, it's a silly, arrogant take to have when someone else is just simply doing something better than you. Just like, grab it. Do some of that too. Like, it's not, I don't know if it's hard to do, but it's also just like, it's possible. It's definitely possible.
It's not hard to do. I mean, I could set that up in 10 minutes for them.
I watch a lot of baseball broadcasts, a lot of baseball games all over the country. There are some that we should do a tier list one time, like an off-season YouTube video of the baseball broadcast, because it is, some of them will put you to sleep. No offense to any people that work for these, but if you guys ever watch a Minnesota Twins game, if you want to take a nap,
just about to bring up the Twins. Yeah.
Twins are sleep central. Even the Astros are a sleep team. The Rays do a sneaky good job. The Reds are kind of a hit and miss for me. The Padres do a fantastic job. The Red Sox, fantastic job. Blue Jays,
Pirates
very good
are
job
electric,
as well.
But I could see people hating the Pirates because they're just major homers and they'll just straight up, the ball gets hit in the air. They're like, get out, ball. Like, I love that.
No, but
I was watching the Diamondbacks last night against the Orioles, and Corbin Carroll hit a ball down the line, and whoever's doing the color commentary, maybe it's their former coach. I don't remember what his name is. The guy who won the World Series with them in 2000. No, for the Diamondbacks.
Oh, okay.
It's Melvin or whatever his name is. And he literally went out like, let's go. Like, just quiet enough, but you heard it. I kind of love that shit sometimes.
No, I like the fact that the Mets do this well. The Orioles do this well. You want guys who want your team to win watching your games. Like that home run last week, was that the Pete home run against the Marlins? Like the screen grab went all around Twitter of Ron and Keith looking at each other. Like, I can't believe that just happened.
Oh, yeah.
Like, those are cool moments when Gary throws the pens. Like this, I like having, and the Yankees do this. Like, Michael Kay is definitely a Yankee fan above all else, but it is nice that kidding. It's definitely that you can feel it when you jump around and watch all these different games, these broadcasts. I think the Braves do a good job too. I hate listening to them, but those guys love the Braves.
Ooh.
Like, you could feel that. Again, it's the home. We hate it because we hate the homerism.
Yeah, it's fair. I mean, Tom Glavine's atrocious on the mic, but
same with Kruk. John Kruk he's amazing for the Phillies. He is like their Keith, where he just goes off and says things. He was doing the game on Saturday against the Dodgers I was watching. It was Roki Sasaki versus Aaron Nola. And there was a point in the broadcast where he asked his play-by-play guy, what day is today? He was like, Saturday, John. And he was like, oh, cool. And then they was like, you watching the Final Four tonight? He was like, is that tonight? He was like, oh, I'm definitely not watching that. Like, it was funny that when these guys like kind of let the personality out. I think that's something that the Mets do really well. I think it's something that SNY allows them to do. They provide the runway for these guys to show off their great personality and their incredible baseball knowledge. And I think that's a really good, fun thing that we as Mets fans get to enjoy 162 times a year.
Totally. Now I'm going to run through these next 4 very quickly because we've taken a lot of time on Media Marvels here, and I don't want to make this a whole Media Marvels episode, but we got 4 more things to talk about, which sounds crazy. 1,
2,
saw videos on Twitter. Well, I'm adding Zach Campbell to that list, so I guess I'll start there. Zach Campbell leaning over and just completely robbing a home run from Christopher Morel, catching it was absolutely insane.
Robbing a home run, yeah.
Yeah, it was. I mean, that guy continues to be in the news for all the wrong reasons. So shout out Zach Campbell, friend of the podcast. Also, I want to bring up the fact that on Twitter, well, he likes me, so that's all right. Yeah, but I saw on Twitter something that I think is bad. Don't do this anymore. Really, really bad look. After the Mets won the game on Saturday. Right, against the Blue Jays?
Mm-hmm.
Saturday against Blue Jays. Mets fans throwing beer bottles on the field after the game. That felt insane to me. I don't like that one bit.
And taking like videos of themselves doing it like in a proud way. That's trash behavior. Please don't do things like that. We don't think any of you guys listening to this, but if you were, just Citi Field. Citi Field is nice. It's a nice place. Don't throw trash.
Yeah, we're not
field.
Philly, so don't do that shit. And then let's talk about Shohei Ohtani tweet real quick because Shohei Ohtani hit a game tying go ahead home run in the 3rd inning.
Game tying home run. Shohei Ohtani in the 3rd inning. MLB tweets that with all caps, and then doesn't tweet really many other highlights from that game. Even though Nationals came back and had a thrilling victory, have exciting players in that team. James Wood, C.J. Abrams. I mean, Dalen Cruz hasn't gotten off to a good start, but he's also an exciting player. MLB tweets a Shohei Ohtani game-tying home run in the 3rd inning, all caps. Leaves the game be. And which then the last one, bad look. Last one here just goes to everyone out there. A lot of people out there make a little content, do some little tweets, hang out, figure out some baseball stats. It's too early in the season for the Savant Bubbles. I'm seeing way too many screenshots of Savant Bubbles on Twitter. Our boy Meek Phil was doing a funny bit with this where he was doing 2 screenshots of 2 guys Savant Bubbles being like, guess who's who? This guy's terrible and this guy who's good. So we're way too early in the season for Savant Bubbles. We need Memorial Day for Savant Bubbles. That's when you can start doing those on Twitter. And even then, still a bit of a content cop-out.
All right. That's more of a James Media Marvel, but I'll stand by it. I stand with James on the Mets'd podcast. All right. Let's go ahead and give you guys the Sacramento. Well, I guess they're not technically called the Sacramento A's. They're just called the Athletics now. Let's give a preview of that series. Pitching matchups. What do you got, James?
Pitching matchups, we have a blank spot for the Athletics on Saturday, so we don't know what's going to happen there. But on Friday night, bit of an ace-off, 10:05 p.m., Midnight Mets, Griffin Canning versus J.P. Sears.
Ace-off.
Saturday, 4:05, we got David Peterson, question mark from the Athletics so far. I'm going to try to do some digging while we keep talking to figure out who that will be.
Beto, Spence, one of those guys.
It'd probably be Spence. That was my thought, because Beto was today and Springs was yesterday, so it just makes sense that would be Spence unless they're going to change things up. And then Sunday, this is going to be a fun one, 4 o'clock start. Kodai Senga versus Luis Severino. That'll be nice. That'll be a fun game to take part in there. But I will warn everybody, this is not the 2 years ago A's team. This is not that team. This is not a bad baseball team. I will say that defiantly. This team can hit. They can pitch enough. They have more than a few really interesting guys in that bullpen. This is a team that you gotta bring it against if you want to win the series.
On the offensive side of things, I like they're going to hit, and that ballpark plays incredibly small. The balls fly out of there. You're going to see insane run environments. So if the Mets can't hit there, we're in trouble. But Tyler Soderstrom off to an unbelievable start this year. 6 home runs, 10 RBIs. Might be out, but if he plays, unbelievable start. Jacob Wilson, my boy, most hits in Major League Baseball right now, I believe. He's raking the ball all over the field. He hasn't walked yet. He probably won't walk. It's almost as likely that he will walk as much as Brett Beatty will walk this weekend. But he's hitting 400 with 1,000 OPS. He's a very good baseball player, top pick in the draft. Lawrence Butler's starting to heat up. He's a great baseball player. Brenton Rooker mashes, obviously. He's been a little bit slow to start the year, but he's a good hitter. J.J. Bleday, even former New York Yankee Miguel Andujar, still hits the ball well. He's always been a good hitter. Can't figure out the fielding, but he's a good hitter. Shea Langoliers has put up trouble against the Mets in the past. Like, this lineup
Shea Langoliers is a good hitter.
By no means that like what you would talk about as like one of the best lineups in baseball. You're not going to fear the A's, but you definitely don't want to treat them as if they are a bad baseball team. This is not a bad baseball team.
No, and another thing about, well, first of all, Jacob Wilson, he has not drawn a walk yet this season. He literally has 0, and he only has struck out one time as well. It's amazing. He went into this week being the last. Oh, 2 times now? Okay. But he went into this week as the last qualified player in Major League Baseball to neither walk or strike out. So if you guys hate 3 true outcomes, you want to see the ball put in play, you should watch every Jacob Wilson at bat, because there will be a ball put in play.
Me and James have a electric bet. We always love betting for some reason on the A's baseball. This year, OPS, who has the highest OPS by the end of the year, there's a stake on it. James has Nolan Shanuel, and I have Jacob Wilson. This is gonna be fun.
It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna come down to the wire there. 2 years ago, we did A's versus Nationals. I got smoked by the Nationals, and last year, Mark and I did Pirates versus Giants. I beat them by a few games in that one. So this is the rubber game for like the strange Mark and James bets on the season. And 3 years ago, the worst bet of my life, the Paul Sewell versus Giovanni Gallego strikeout rate, which Giovanni Gallego's made 3 percentage points of strikeout rate in the last 2 weeks of the season. Unbelievably, it's ridiculous that happened. But another thing to watch for this series with the A's, they are one of the worst teams in baseball in holding runners on. They have allowed tons of stolen bases. Shane Langoliers had seen the second most stolen base attempts on him for any catcher in baseball. That was coming into play today. And coming into play on Wednesday, the A's were yet to make a pickoff throw. They had not thrown a pickoff throw yet this season. I do a stolen base roundup every Wednesday for Roller World, and I was looking up that data. I literally couldn't believe it. They have not thrown a pickoff. They're getting run on like wild. The Cubs went nuts on them over last weekend, stealing on them. It would be nice to see this Mets team be aggressive on the base pass because this A's team has shown an unwillingness to hold runners on so far.
Oh, it'd be amazing. That'd be so sick if the Mets could just come out and hit the ball well, get some home runs, run the base paths aggressively, all stuff. Like the Mets, again, should win this series. We're not, glazing up the A's like they're a World Series contender here, but this is just a better team than you probably think if you're not keeping your finger on the pulse of what's going on in the AL West right now.
Yeah, and again, just want to shout out a few relievers like I always have to do. I hope we don't see Mason Miller in the series because that'll mean that we're losing a game. But he throws 103 miles an hour. He's probably pound for pound the best reliever in baseball right now. I'm pretty confident saying that. And also, they got a couple of flamethrowers in the back of
looks
the
like
bullpen.
shit.
Yeah, terrible. Same with Devin Williams. Looks terrible. Same with Edwin Diaz. Doesn't look that great either. Tyler Ferguson throws gas. Justin Sterner was a Rule 5 pickup from them from the Rays. He's a funky little fastball slider mix. Jose Leclerc's back there.
Anything else?
No, I think that's basically all we got. Good. I mean, it should be a fun A's series. It's not a fun Marlins series, but it should be a fun A's series.
I mean, it was a fun Marlins series. We just said like the last game put a little sour taste in our mouth, but end of the day, Mets took care of business almost perfectly. Almost. A sweep would have been the optimal outcome, but winning the series at least, that's fine. You win every series of the year, you're going to win like 110 games. So let's keep on that track. And I think that's pretty much it. We're going to drop a prospect episode later this week in a couple days. Yeah, maybe Saturday. We're going to drop a prospect episode, give you guys a little bit of a roundup from the first week and a half of minor league baseball. So make sure you are subscribed to the Mets'd podcast on YouTube so you see that. Make sure you are following us on our podcast feed, Spotify, Google, Apple Podcasts, whatever it is. Drop us a rating, drop us a review, download, and subscribe. You can follow James on Twitter and YouTube at
James Shiano, baby. That's it.
And I'm Giraffe Neck Mark with a C. Thank you guys for listening and watching. Let's go Mets. We'll catch you guys on the next episode. Peace out.
Peace out, guys. Let's go Mets.